Good morning once again. Here I'll be talking on non-surgical or medical management of facial palsy. These are the effects of facial palsy on eye. There is lagophthalmos, incomplete blink, lid retraction, paralytic ectropion, and in the late stage, there is synkinesis, that is crocodile tear, Manin-Amat, and auriculotemporal syndrome of gustatory sweating. The ocular surface is severely damaged in facial palsy. The mechanism is orbicularis oculi function is reduced, that causes poor blink reflex, inadequate distribution of tear, this causes tear dysfunction. There is reduced tear production and poor corneal sensation where there is associated trigeminal nerve dysfunction. And in poor Bell's phenomenon, there is the surface is again at more risk of damage. There is exposure keratopathy, non-healing epithelial defect, corneal ulcer, opacity, conjunctival injection, and dry eye. So the ophthalmic management of facial nerve palsy is divided into acute stage management and chronic stage management. The acute stage management is usually the conservative management by medical and some other medical management and other devices. And the chronic stage management, it is mainly based on surgical treatment, chemodenervation by botulinum toxin injection, and rehabilitation. Here I will be talking on acute stage management. The aim of acute stage management by the ophthalmologist is to protect the ocular surface from exposure and to improve the patient comfort and vision. The treatment option depends on predicted prognosis of return of nerve function. That is, if we are suspecting that patient has some permanent damage to the nerve. That is, in case of neurosurgery of acoustic neuroma, there is transection of the nerve. There is no chances of recovery. In these cases, we have to treat more aggressively and quick. And where we are suspecting that it may be a Bell's palsy or there may be recovery within few weeks, we will be little conservative in this management. The degree of risk to the cornea again depends on amount of lagophthalmos, quality of Bell's phenomenon, and presence of lower lid ectropion. The tear substitute at the initial conservative management aims to protect and lubricate the cornea. It is recommended in patients with low risk of corneal changes. Tear substitute stabilizes and thickens the precorneal tear film, keeps the ocular surface wet and lubricated. It also helps to repair the ocular surface damage and keeps the ocular surface smooth. Tear surface again can be artificial tear, which can be given 4 times a day if it has preservative, and if it is preservative free, it can also be given in hourly doses, because preservative, if it is preservative is there, it will ultimately cause epithelial defect damage. And another preparation is artificial tear gel, especially petroleum jelly based ointment, and that is usually advised given in bedtime. And if there is significant lagophthalmos, we will advise artificial tear gel. The tear substitute again ranging from cellulose derivative like HPMC and CMC to polyvinyl chloride, sodium hyaluronate, povidone, hypermellose, and PEG, and each and every have some advantage and disadvantage. We have a wide array of choices of tear substitute in exposure keratopathy use. There are some devices, that is a moisture chamber goggles and a protective ocular bubble. These are also in use for, they also successfully helps to prevent the exposure keratopathy. But the problem is patients usually do not tolerate these heavy moisture goggles. But this protective ocular bubble is very useful, but it is, to the best of my knowledge, it is not readily available in our country. So we usually use this indigenous moisture bubble using cellophane, simple cellophane paper and medical tape. Next is eyelid taping. A lot of practitioners still uses this eyelid taping and patching during sleep in facial palsy lagophthalmos patient, but currently it is absolutely not recommended because this patient has poor orbicularis oculi tone. So when they are sleeping, there is unopposed action of LPS and opening of the eye that causing risk of corneal abrasion by the patch itself. So it is absolutely not recommended now. Scleral contact lenses are the another option for protecting the cornea. They actually act like a liquid bandage over the cornea and and protects the corneal health. Where there is a patient where the satisfactorily not managed by the lubricant alone, we can use punctal occlusion, silicone punctal plug, which is a reversible one. It is it's commonly used. This is very simple technique, and if it is not available, then simple punctal cautery can be given. Next is temporary ptosis by botulinum toxin or Botox injection. It is given transcutaneously. 7.5 to 10 unit is given in the anterior orbital loop just behind the superior orbital rim in the mid-pupillary plane. The adverse effect is superior rectus palsy, but if it is given properly, it stays for a few weeks and it helps to help the cornea. This botulinum toxin also used in other conditions, sequelae of facial palsy, that is crocodile tears, which is also known as crocodile tears, where there is misdirection of the postganglionic secretory fibers towards the lacrimal gland via greater superficial petrosal nerve. And this is pre-food, this is before food, and this is after food. You can see there is the Sarma strip almost has been weighted. And in this case managed by transconjunctival botulinum toxin injection to lacrimal gland, 7.5 unit has been given. And this is the result after 4 weeks. There is no such difference in the pre and after food. But the problem is the effect of botulinum toxin in these cases usually stays for only 4 to 5 months. Then again the symptoms appears and have to give it repeatedly. Here I am to share rare oculofacial synkinesis cases which appears after facial paralysis. That is Marin-Amart syndrome. This is a oculofacial synkinesis that occurs due to aberrant regeneration of the facial nerve after peripheral facial nerve palsy. Here you can see when the patient is using the mouth or opening the mouth, there is squeezing of the right eye. Their orbicularis oculi gets stimulated. This is grossly, it is just a reverse of the Marcus gun phenomenon we see in ptosis, but it is not inverse Marcus gun. The mechanism is different here. Now, when he is using the jaw, the eye is squeezing, right eye is squeezing. So this patient has been managed by botulinum toxin injection, and this is the result after 1 month. Now when he is opening his mouth or using the muscular mastication, there is no such movement of the right eye. Again, this action actually stays for only 4 to 6 months, and you have to repeat the botulinum toxin injection repeatedly. So ophthalmologists are often the first point of contact for facial palsy cases, and along with the eye care, we are also responsible for diagnosis and proper referral for extended care if the patient needed some neurosurgical or ENT treatment. Prompt management of acute stage is important to save the vision. The main priority is to ensure adequate corneal protection. Long-term sequelae of the facial nerve palsy may be tackled later accordingly.